The truth just leaked as Masai Ujiri was shockingly fired this morning by the Toronto Raptors as MLSE parted ways with their longtime top executive that was running this organization. But now we have new details in terms of what the Toronto Raptors' plans are with their GM position as well as president of basketball operations, but most importantly, the real reason as to why Masai Ujiri ended up being let go. It's leaked, it's confirmed, and we're going to break it all down here in this video. So much stuff to dive into today as, frankly, an absolute monumental day in Toronto Raptors history, not for a good reason, as the Toronto Raptors parted way with Masai Ujiri. So if you don't want to miss any news that's happening, because it is about to be an absolute whirlwind of Raptors news over the next couple weeks after this bombshell that dropped from Shams Charania today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. You guys have been crushing it, hitting that sub button as of late. We are on that goal to hit 40,000 subscribers. So continue to grow the community here and cover all the latest Raptors news. So if you don't want to miss anything going on with this situation, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. But basically, there's a lot of stuff to dive into. As most people saw, Masai Ujiri was fired today. Masai Ujiri is out as vice chairman and president of the Toronto Raptors, according to Shams Charania, who went on to say, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and Masai Ujiri have decided to part ways as Ujiri is entering the final year of his contract. So this is, stuff we broke down today, have a video on it, have a stream on it, but now the details as to why Edward Rogers made this decision to part ways with the Toronto Raptors president is they have come out, and it is going to infuriate a lot of people. So Ryan Wolstad just came out and said, make no mistake, MLSE is in cost-cutting mode. Not going full-scale cheap, but not looking to spend huge money on executives. That's a significant part of the reason Shanahan and Masai Ujiri are out. So Shanahan, of course, president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs had a disastrous end to their playoff run this year, losing to the Florida Panthers, who did win the Stanley Cup, but the Leafs are up in that series. It was a mess. They didn't make any moves to build up their playoffs. Check out Leafs Digest. You want more details on Leafs coverage. Can definitely deliver way better analysis than I can on hockey. But they parted ways with their president, and they decided not to fill the void of president, which is what I was assuming this morning. Once Masai Ujiri got fired, the reins would be handed to a guy in Bobby Webster, who has been around this team for a long time, has been the understudy to Masai Ujiri, and the guy that Edward Rogers anointed as, the next guy up for back in 2021 when he wanted to cheap out on Masai Ujiri back then. But no, things have taken a very interesting turn, which frankly is more concerning than what we broke down earlier this morning. Because firstly, again, the Edward Rogers is cheap. He didn't want to pay Masai Ujiri as he is an expensive executive to have around, given the fact how influential he is across the league, how impactful he's been for the Toronto Raptors, and he brought us a championship. He has the resume, the CV, and even what he's done lately in reconstructing this roster, retooling, he has the CV to deserve a high payment. He's not overpriced, but he is expensive. Edward Rogers does not want to pay that on an exec. So they haven't cheaped out on the players, which is a good note. So that's positive in terms of cost cutting. They're not trying to now hey, let's sell off RJ Barrett because we don't want to pay his contract. Now, that could be the next step, and I've been on the mound saying, hey, let's keep RJ Barrett. Let's not just sell him for scraps or parts or whatever the heck it is. It might have to be screamed louder now at this point, because if they're cost cutting the GMs, I wouldn't be surprised a guy making $20 million, they try to salary dump or something along those lines. But I digress on that point there. It doesn't seem like on the court they're going to be trying to cost cut in that direction. And, there is signs that Rogers is willing to spend in terms of, they gave a $500 million contract to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and which ended up being like 700 million Canadian or something like that. So that's that. They have shown proof to spend. Now, that could be taken another direction. Well, hey, you have one guy on the Toronto Blue Jays making the entire cost of, filming the NHL and Rogers TV. There's a lot of money being poured in that direction, so maybe they want to cheap out in different areas, but they are pulling away things that they think people won't care about, because executives, again, guys like, folks that are watching this video, people that are watching all YouTube on Raptors, they care about that stuff. But if a guy like, Scottie Barnes was cut due to, cap things or trying to cheap out on money and stuff, that's where real major backfire ends up happening. And then, of course, you had a bit of outcry following the Raptors draft picks and stuff, so Edward Rogers probably thought this was a good time to announce things were parting ways. But Cheaping out is kind of the truth in terms of what's going on here, but now we have more insight into the Toronto Raptors' plans following this. As I broke down the video this morning and on the live stream we saw, Bobby Webster is going to remain the GM of this team. Much of the front office has been extended. Bobby Webster also led the Raptors draft efforts, according to Brett Siegel. Now, this was contested by Michael Grange, not necessarily that Bobby Webster was leading the charge, as that's what the report comes out from Brett Siegel is kind of indicating here, but Raptors insiders, draft picks, they were all interacting directly with Masai Ujiri. It wasn't like Masai Ujiri was just in the office chilling, knowing he's gone. Things were business as usual during the NBA draft, but with Bobby Webster taking more of a lead role. So, there's videos of Masai Ujiri on the phone with Colin Murray Boyles once he got drafted, right? Like, that's not going to happen if you know you're going to get fired in 2 days. So that's something that is very weird and concerning, that maybe this is a bit more haphazard than was planned, but at least these guys out there in the Raptors front office are extended, and Bobby Webster will be in as GM. So that's the positive, and why I was a little bit, okay, there's a silver lining to this disaster class that ended up going down today, but it gets more concerning with the new reports that have come out about the Toronto Raptors' plans. Essentially, Masai being out, Bobby Webster has extended and will stay with the Raptors as GM. The rest of the Raptors leadership team remains in place for now, but MLSE intends to replace Ujiri with a new president. Surprising, given their plan to proceed without filling the Leafs position after Brendan Shanahan was ousted. So that is, again, a bold move. And Josh Lundberg went on to say, not sure how appealing this presidency job is going to be, with a GM and leadership already in place and extended, as well as MLSE essentially doing away with a position elsewhere. Will be interesting to hear what Keith Pelley has to say about the situation. He'll speak with the media at 1 p.m. So Josh Lundberg's confirming that Masai Ujiri is expected to be replaced. It's not the same way Bobby Webster was the understudy to Masai Ujiri. They want someone in that position. Now, we've seen presidents and stuff be hands-on, hands-off, sometimes doing things in the back end, whatever the heck it is. But Masai Ujiri obviously was very involved in player intel, interacting, making trades, and all those types of things. If we were replacing him with someone that sucks and coveted, that could be disastrous for this Toronto Raptors team. Now, Bobby Webster is extended as GM. I don't know what's going to happen with the president of basketball operations, but as Lundberg put it, it's going to be tough to follow Masai Ujiri's shoes. That's the first thing. So that's one thing that people might look at as like a presidency spot, like, okay, that's a tough spot to fill. But then on top of it, the president's coming in under Edward Rogers. They are going to really look at the situation and be like, okay, I can't have any of my guys out there in this position. I'm coming in, sliding into a role where there was a decade-long amount of relationships and continuity built up in this Raptors front office, and they're going to try to slide in there. You see that Edward Rogers end up firing a guy that won you a championship. It's going to be tough to attract the top talent specifically to this role. And the Raptors, and as Josh Lundberg essentially put out, that the Raptors, again, are looking to fill this role. It was put out in a press release that they are planning on doing a full, wide search of the Raptors president position. So it's I'm concerned. I would have rather they left this open the same way the Toronto Maple Leafs did and left us in the hands of Bobby Webster. But now we have the risk of someone stupid coming in and running this Toronto Raptors team. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Truth is out. The Raptors are cheap out there, at least in their front office. Hopefully they don't cut the medical staff and stuff like that now, but I don't know. Sad day for the Toronto Raptors. We'll keep you posted on all the latest updates. Hit that subscribe button. Cheers.